Ages ago, as Vikings were expanding the influence of the Norsemen across Europe and into Asia, rune masters, wise in the ways of runes, were carving them into wood and stone. As they etched these staves, they left behind thousands of artifacts bearing runic inscriptions that we can still read today. Hi, I'm Kaedrich Olsen, and in this video I would like to introduce you to the power of rune song, where it came from, and how you can access runic energies through music. And we begin by examining the works of these ancient rune masters. There are many standing stones which denote the death of a prominent landholder, and usually who their successors are. We also find many weapons with protective runes carved into them. There are many strange artifacts with runes that defy interpretation, and many intricately designed bracteates that bear runic inscriptions. Some of these inscriptions are readily translatable from the Proto-Germanic languages. Others defy interpretation because they were carved with magical intent, and their meanings have been lost through the onward march of time, and through the intentional obscuration of the meanings of those runes. When we look at the ancient texts written about the use of runes, we find an extra dimension to rune workings. Phrases like "Dan kan ek Galdr at gala," which in essence means, "Then I know the rune songs to sing." Phrases like this tell us that the runes were not only carved, but they were sung as well. The word Galdr is a form of magic in which the sounds of the runes were sung aloud by the rune masters. This word also means rune song. Now what we can glean from this is that as the ancient rune masters were carving the staves into wood and stone with specific intent, they sang the energies of those runes to life through their songs. The exact process that they used for singing the runes to life has been lost to us. However, we can regain a new process using our 21st century sensibilities. Within the Elder Futhark, the oldest runic alphabet, there are 7 vowel runes. Now we can place these runes along a spectrum ranging from Uruz at the bottom and Isa at the top. Interestingly enough, these 7 positions align nicely with the Hindu placement of the 7 chakras. Also, the placement of these runes closely match the functions assigned to those chakras, such as Uruz at the base of the spine representing primal energy and vitality of life, and Anzus at the throat, which represents communication and understanding. Now, we can assign these vowel runes to a note from the diatonic music scale that we are all most familiar with. Let's start with the C major scale, putting C at the base with Uruz, moving our way up to Athala with D, and we can even see Anzus has a G. Using this process, we now have a way of taking passages from Old Norse poetry and words from ancient runic inscriptions, assigning the vowels of those words to notes, and then creating musical compositions from the results. For example, let's take a word found in many ancient runic inscriptions, and the word is Alu. It is a word that we have come to understand to mean magic or manifestation, and it comes at the end of runic inscriptions, as if it is calling the intention of that inscription into existence. Now, if we take the 2 vowels from that word and assign them to musical notes, we see that Alu corresponds to the notes of C and G. And if you've taken music theory, you know that the interval created by the notes C and G is called a perfect fifth or a dominant chord. This dominant interval sounds very powerful, and we find it in musical styles ranging from sacred music to heavy metal. This interval was once known as God's chord because of this powerful effect. Thus, it is called dominant after the Latin word dominus. Musically speaking, we can see now how powerful the word Alu is. But for it to take its place in sacred music, let's compare it to a couple of other words found in other traditions that have the same vowels in it, and therefore we can give it the same musical interval. Aum, or Om from Tibetan and Hindu traditions, make use of the same AU interval. Hallelujah from the Judeo-Christian practices also have the same interval. Both of these are sacred sounds which have been part of mantras and prayers that have been sung for ages, and we can see how the practice of Galdr is a form of sacred music. So what is it about sacred music that makes it so powerful? It is the specific intention of the song, paired with the energetic vibratory resonance of the music, that creates a shift in human consciousness, which is reflected in the very nature of reality all about us, and we call this shift manifestation. And each rune represents an intention as well as a specific musical interval, which makes them perfectly primed for sacred music that we call GaldraKraft.